There is a version of you, breathing right now, who already lives the life you keep praying for. One belief separates you. Tonight you cross. That version of you isn't waiting in the future. He isn't a fantasy. She isn't a hope. That version is alive in this same moment, in a state of consciousness you have not yet stepped into. And the doorway between the two of you is not a door of effort. It is a door of belief. You have been told to work harder. You have been told to want it more. You have been told that one day, if you stay disciplined long enough, the door will open. That is the lie. The door does not open from the outside. It never has. It opens from the inside, the moment you stop knocking and start assuming you are already through. But before I show you the doorway, I have to show you why you've been knocking on the wrong wall for so long. You have spent years praying as a beggar. You have lifted your hands and asked the heavens for a thing that was already inside you. You have whispered to a sky as if the sky were the keeper. The sky is not the keeper. The keeper is the silent voice in your own chest that says, I am. And every time that voice speaks, a world is made. You just haven't been listening to what it has been saying. Tonight you will listen. In the next 85 minutes, I am going to teach you the inner mechanics that the great teacher Joseph Murphy spent a lifetime trying to put into ordinary words. We are going to talk about timelines, and we are going to talk about the quantum power of unshakable belief. And I want you to hear me clearly on this. When I say quantum, I do not mean the physics in a textbook. I mean a poet's word for a truth as old as scripture. There are layered states of being available to you in this very second, and the one you fall into tomorrow is the one you assume tonight. That is the whole secret. That is the entire teaching condensed into a single line. The rest of this hour is unfolding it for you, layer by layer, until the truth burns clean and unforgettable in the center of your chest. And the first stone in that wall is a word you've been using your whole life without knowing what it really means. The word is belief. You think belief is hope. You think belief is wishing. You think belief is the warm feeling you get when you read an inspiring quote. None of that is belief. Belief is the quiet, unshakable assumption that something is so. Belief is the place you stand. Belief is the floor under your feet that you do not even think to question because you are already standing on it. The man who believes the sun will rise tomorrow does not pray for the sun, he sleeps. The woman who believes her children love her does not beg them every morning. She lives in the love. That is belief. And until your wish becomes that quiet, that sure, that ordinary inside you, you have not yet believed. This is why your prayers have not moved. You have been confusing wanting with believing. You have been confusing waiting with assuming. You have been confusing effort with embodiment. The Father within you does not respond to the volume of your asking. The Father within you responds to the quiet weight of what you assume to be true. And right now, the heaviest assumption in your chest is not the dream you say you want. The heaviest assumption is the doubt you have not named. Listen close, because what you're about to hear is not a theory. You will spend the next decade chasing the dream you keep telling other people about, and you will not catch it, not because you are unworthy, not because the universe is cruel, not because timing is off. You will not catch it because somewhere underneath the dream, you assume you are not the one who gets things like this. You assume someone else lives that life. You assume there is something missing in you. And the loom that is weaving your tomorrow does not weave the dream. It weaves the assumption, always, without exception. The loom is loyal to what you actually believe, never to what you say you want. So tonight, we move the assumption. Tonight, we walk into the room where it lives and we change it. Now I want you to understand something about the way this teaching is going to land. I am not going to give you everything at once. The mind cannot hold a fire that is too large all at the same time. So I am going to drip feed you. One revelation per breath. One teaching per turning. By the end, you will hold the whole thing in your hand like a small lit lamp, and you will carry it with you into your sleep tonight. But for now, walk slowly with me. There are 7 specific words I will give you before this is over. 7 small words. Murphy never wrote them in this exact order, but they are distilled from the spine of his teaching, and they are the verbal lock that closes the new timeline behind you. I will not give them to you yet. You are not ready. The words only work after the ground is prepared, and the ground is your understanding. We have a great deal of preparing to do first. Hold the question. Carry it. The 7 words are coming. There is also a single 60-second window in your day that is the most powerful sacred gate of your entire life. Most of you walk through that gate every night and waste it on worry, on scrolling, on rehearsing the small fears that ruined your day. That gate is the last 60 seconds before you fall asleep. I will tell you what to do at that gate before this is over. Not yet. The teaching has to walk first. And there is a quiet rule, a rule that 99 out of every 100 manifestation teachers miss. A rule so simple that you will dismiss it the first time you hear it. And yet without this rule, the entire system collapses. I will give you that rule too, but only at the very end. The end is where it has the most weight. Carry the question, carry it the whole way. For now, let us speak about the field. Imagine your life is not one road, but a great field of every possible road, all laid out at once, every version of you walking each of them simultaneously. The version who took the leap, the version who stayed safe, the version who said yes to the love, the version who walked away, the version who built the thing he was afraid to build. They are all there, they are all alive. They are all real, in the only sense that matters. The sense that says, what you assume to be real is what becomes real to you. This is what Murphy meant when he wrote that your subconscious mind has access to a power that is, in his own words, the very same power that wheels the planets in their courses. He was not exaggerating, he was being literal. The same intelligence that holds the stars in their seats holds the loom on which your tomorrow is woven. And the thread that intelligence pulls through the loom is the assumption you go to sleep with tonight. That is the doctrine. That is the entire spine of every teaching I am about to give you. Now hear me. The shift between one timeline and another is not a journey. It is not a long climb. It is not something that takes years. The shift is instantaneous. The shift is the moment you fully assume the new state of being. The years come afterward. The years are the world catching up to the assumption. The world always catches up. The world has no choice. The loom is faithful. And right there, in the gap between the assumption and the world, is the reason your prayers have not moved. You have not closed the gap. You have been holding the wish in one hand and the doubt in the other, and the loom does not know which thread to follow, so it weaves nothing. Or worse, it weaves the doubt, because the doubt is the heavier thread. That is why you keep getting more of what you do not want. You are not unlucky. You are loyal. You are loyal to a version of yourself that no longer serves you. The good news is that loyalty is a choice, and tonight you can choose differently. Now, I want to say something about the word timeline, because this word is going to come up a great deal, and I do not want any of you mistaking what I mean. I do not mean a parallel universe in a science fiction movie. I do not mean a separate dimension. I mean exactly what Murphy meant when he taught that there are infinite states of consciousness, and the one you inhabit determines the world you experience. A timeline, as I am using the word tonight, is a state of consciousness. It is a state of belief. It is a way of being that, once you are inside of it, generates a corresponding world. Step into the state of the man who is already loved. The world begins to rearrange itself to confirm it. Step into the state of the woman who is already prosperous. The world begins to send her the proofs. The state is the cause. The world is the echo. You have been trying to fix the echo. Tonight, we move the cause. You may have spent your whole life believing it was the other way around. You may have spent your whole life believing that when the world finally gives you the thing, then you will be allowed to feel it. That is the trap that has cost you a decade. You will never feel it after because the feeling before is the very thing that pulls it to you. Reverse the order, feel the thing first, fully in the silence of your inner room, and the outer world will have no choice but to deliver. That is the law. That is the way it has always worked. I want you to take a breath right now. Wherever you are, whatever you are doing, take one slow breath, because what is coming next is going to ask something of you. It is going to ask you to set down a story you have been carrying for a long time. The story of being the one who is still waiting, the one who has tried hard, the one who deserves it. None of that is going to help you tonight. The Father within does not respond to your resume. The Father within responds only to what you assume yourself to be in this very second. So we are going to start there. We are going to start with the I am. We are going to start with the loom. We are going to start with the inner image. And by the time we are done, you will not be the same person who began this hour. The person who began this hour will be one of those parallel versions you remember faintly, the way you remember a dream as you wake up. The you who finishes this hour will already be on the new timeline, walking forward, watching the world catch up. Stay with me. There is a great deal still to come. And the next thing I am going to show you is the single most misunderstood word in every prayer ever spoken. The word that when you finally understand it changes the entire structure of your asking forever. The most misunderstood word in every prayer ever spoken is the word ask. You have been taught to ask. You have been told that if you ask in the right tone, with the right humility, with the right repetition, the heavens will eventually relent and give. You have been taught that the asking is the act of faith. It is not. The asking is the symptom of doubt. A man asks for what he believes he does not have. A man assumes the presence of what he believes is already his. The Father within does not respond to the ask. The Father within responds to the assumption. You do not ask, you assume. Say that to yourself. You do not ask, you assume. Until you understand the difference between those two postures, every prayer you speak will arrive at the loom as a question, and the loom does not weave from questions. The loom weaves from declarations, from states of being, from the silent, settled posture of the one who already has it. Now hear the law plainly, the way Murphy taught it, the way Scripture has whispered it for thousands of years before any of us thought to write a book about it. The law of assumption is this: whatever you assume yourself to be, with feeling, becomes externalized as the world around you. Whatever you assume, not whatever you wish, not whatever you hope, not whatever you grit your teeth and force yourself to repeat in the mirror at 6 in the morning. The loom does not pull on grit. The loom pulls on assumption. Whatever you carry inside you as the quiet, ordinary, unquestioned reality of who you are, that is the thread the loom selects. That is the thread it weaves. And the world that comes back to you tomorrow is the cloth that came off that loom last night. This is why the law is so terrifying once you finally see it. Because the law is faithful. The law has no opinion. The law does not care whether you assume yourself rich or poor, loved or alone, healed or breaking. The law only weaves what you give it. So if you have been giving it the assumption that you are still waiting, still trying, still the one who has not yet broken through, the law has been delivering you exactly that. Day after day, year after year. With the precision of a master weaver, the law is loyal to your assumption. It has been all along. This is also why the law is the most beautiful gift you will ever be given. Because the moment you change the assumption, the moment you walk into a different inner state, the loom stops weaving the old cloth and starts weaving the new one. Immediately, tonight. The instant you go to sleep in the new state, the loom shifts, the thread changes, the cloth changes. The world that arrives tomorrow morning is a different world. Not because the universe rearranged the planets, Because you rearrange the only thing that was ever holding the world in place, your inner posture. So why do most people fail at this? Because most people will not stay. This is the conflict. This is the place where every spiritual seeker breaks their teeth. They hear the teaching. They feel the truth of it. They go home, and that night they assume the new state for 10 minutes, and then the doorbell rings, or the bill arrives, or the old voice in their head says, "Who do you think you are?" And they collapse. They fall back into the old assumption within an hour. They wake up the next morning still loyal to the old self, and they are confused because they tried and it did not work. You did not try. You visited. There is an enormous difference between visiting a state and inhabiting it. A tourist visits a country. A citizen lives there. The law does not weave for the tourist. The law weaves for the citizen. And until you become a citizen of the new state, until you take up residence there, until you sleep in it, until you brush your teeth in it, until you handle a mild irritation from inside it without falling out of it, the loom does not commit. The loom is waiting to see who you actually are. The loom is waiting for your loyalty. This is the conflict between effort and embodiment. Effort says, I will work harder in the outer world to earn the new life. Embodiment says, I will become the new life now, in my inner room, and the outer world will follow. Effort is exhausting because it is fighting against the loom. Embodiment is restful because it is cooperating with the loom. The man who has finally learnt this stops striving and starts assuming, and within months his world is unrecognizable, and the people around him say he got lucky. He did not get lucky. He stopped fighting the loom. The loom started weaving for him instead of against him. You have been fighting the loom. Every time you have wanted something and simultaneously felt that it was far away, you have been giving the loom 2 threads at the same time, and the loom has been weaving the heavier one. The heavier one has always been the doubt. Not because the doubt was bigger than the wish, but because the doubt was older. The doubt has been your companion since childhood. The wish is a stranger you met last Tuesday. The loom always picks the older thread unless you do the deliberate work of making the new thread heavier. How do you make the new thread heavier? You live in it. Not for 10 minutes, for days, for a season. You assume it before sleep. You assume it on waking. You assume it while the kettle boils. You assume it when the world hands you news that contradicts it. You assume it especially when the world hands you news that contradicts it. Because the test of the new assumption is precisely the moment when the world says it is not so. The world will say it is not so every time in the early days. That is not a sign you are failing. That is a sign that the loom has not yet finished rethreading. The loom is faithful, but it is also slow when it is changing direction. Stay. So let us go to the loom. Let us watch how it weaves. Picture in your mind a great wooden loom, the kind a woman might have used in a quiet stone room 1,000 years ago. The frame is dark and solid, the threads stretched long across the warp, 1,000 colors waiting to be chosen. The weaver sits silently. She has only one rule. She weaves whatever the heart in the center of the loom holds. The heart is small, no bigger than your fist, and it pulses softly with the assumptions of the one whose life is being woven. If the heart whispers, I am loved, the weaver picks the gold thread. If the heart whispers, I am alone, the weaver picks the gray. The weaver does not argue. The weaver does not interpret. The weaver only listens. Now hear me. The heart in the loom is not your daydream. The heart in the loom is your underlying state of being. The heart is the place inside you that does not need to be performed for anyone. The heart is what you are when no one is watching, when no one is impressing you, when you are not selling yourself to a future. That is the heart the loom hears. And that is why your loud affirmations do not always work. The loud affirmations are the daydream. They live above the heart. The heart hears them and does not answer because the heart only speaks the truth of what you actually assume to be so. If your daydream says one thing and your heart whispers another, the weaver picks the heart. Always. This is the most important sentence in the entire teaching. The weaver picks the heart. Always. So your job is not to shout louder. Your job is to walk into the heart and change what it whispers. That is the inner work. That is the only work that has ever moved a single thread on the loom. Everything else is theater. How do you change what the heart whispers? You sit with it. You let it speak its truth. You listen to what it actually believes about you, about your life, about your worthiness, about what you can and cannot have. You do not argue. You do not shame it. You simply hear it. And then, gently, like a parent rocking a frightened child back to sleep, you offer it the new assumption, over and over, without force, without anger, until the heart settles into the new whisper. And the moment it does, the loom shifts, the thread changes, the cloth begins to be different. Some of you have been screaming at the heart your whole life. You have been calling it weak, calling it unworthy, calling it the thing that has held you back. The heart cannot whisper the new truth while you are screaming at it. Stop screaming. Sit down beside it. Listen. The heart has been carrying the whole house. It deserves your tenderness, not your contempt. The shift begins in the moment you stop fighting your own inner state and begin teaching it gently what is true. This is the inner image. This is the room where it lives. This is the place where every change ever made in any human life began. And right there, in the gap between the inner image and the outer action, is the reason your prayers have not moved. You have been praying with your mouth and contradicting yourself with your inner image. You have been speaking the wish and feeling the lack. The mouth and the heart have been at war, and the loom has not known which one to follow, so the loom has frozen. Or worse, the loom has woven the lack, because the lack was the heart's older whisper. Your prayers have not failed. Your prayers have been answered with terrible precision. The answer just came from the wrong layer of you. Tonight we end the war. Tonight we move the assumption all the way down, out of the mouth, out of the head, into the heart, where the loom can hear it. And once the heart says it, the world will have no choice. The world has never had a choice. The world has always been the cloth. The heart has always been the warp. The weaver has always been faithful. There is one more thing I want you to understand before we move into the deeper teachings. There is a quiet rule that 99 of every 100 teachers miss. A rule so simple that you will dismiss it the first time you hear it. And yet without this rule, the entire system collapses on the first hard week of your life. I am not going to give you that rule yet. The rule is the keystone, and the keystone goes in last. Carry the question. Hold it gently. We are walking toward it. By the end of this hour, you will hold it in your hand, and the moment you hold it, the entire teaching becomes unbreakable inside you. For now, breathe. Take one slow breath, and let the truth of what you have just heard settle into your bones. The loom is real. The heart is the warp. The weaver is faithful. The assumption is the thread. Tonight, you change the thread. And the next thing I am going to show you is the 4 pillars of every shift Murphy ever taught. The 4 pillars that once you stand inside them, lock the new timeline closed behind you forever. There are 4 pillars on which every timeline shift stands. Take any of them away and the whole structure leans. The first pillar is the law of assumption. We have walked through this one already, but I want you to carry it forward as a pillar now, not as a teaching. A teaching is something you understand. A pillar is something you stand on. Stand on this. Whatever you assume yourself to be, with feeling, becomes externalized as the world around you. That is your floor. That is the ground you walk on for the rest of your life. Every other teaching tonight is built on top of it. The second pillar is the I am. Now I want you to slow down. I want you to hear this in the bones of your chest, not in the chatter of your head. The 2 most powerful words you will ever speak are the two smallest words in any language. I am. Every time those two words leave your mouth, a world is being shaped. Every time those two words echo silently in the quiet inside you, a thread is being chosen at the loom. The Father within does not call you by your name. The Father within calls you by what comes after the I am. I am tired. I am broken. I am almost there. I am still trying. I am the kind of person who, listen to yourself for one ordinary day and you will hear the timeline you have been weaving. Every I am is a command. Every I am is a coronation. You have been crowning the wrong self. When you say I am tired, the loom hears it as a decree. The weaver picks the gray thread. The world finds new ways to tire you. When you say I am broke, the loom hears the decree. The weaver picks the empty thread. The world finds new ways to drain you. The loom does not punish you. The loom is simply faithful to your I am. So tonight we change the I am. I want you to feel the weight of this. The two smallest words in your mouth are the two heaviest words in your life. Treat them like crown jewels. Stop spending them like loose change. Every time you catch yourself about to say, I am, followed by something old and small and tired, stop, reset the line, speak the truer one. I am the one who has crossed. I am the one who is whole. I am the one for whom this is already done. Do not perform it. Do not strain it. Just say it the way you say the date when someone asks you. Quietly, ordinarily, as fact. The loom is listening for the ordinary tone, not for the loud one. Settle into it. The third pillar is the inner conversation. This is the one most people never even know exists. While your mouth is saying the right words to your friend, your spouse, your boss, your mirror, the inner conversation is going on underneath in a continuous river that runs through your day, and that river is the actual prayer of your life. Not the prayer you kneel to say, not the prayer you list out before sleep. The inner conversation, the little voice in the back of your head that, all day long, narrates the world to you. That voice is praying every minute you are awake. It is praying without ceasing, the way the old book commanded. But most of you are praying the wrong prayer. The inner conversation is the place where the timeline is actually being chosen. If your inner conversation all day is a low murmur of complaint, of fear, of subtle resignation, then your prayer all day is, more of this, please. The heavens hear and the loom delivers, and you wonder why your life never moves. Move the inner conversation, catch yourself. The moment you catch the murmur, replace one sentence, just one, replace the next thought. The new state is built thought by thought, the way a wall is built brick by brick. You do not need to demolish the whole house tonight. You only need to lay one new brick. Lay it now. What does the new brick sound like? It sounds like the inner conversation of the one who already has the thing. The woman who has the love is not having a frantic inner monologue about being lonely. She is having a quiet inner monologue about what to make for dinner with the one who loves her. The man who has the prosperity is not running a panic loop in his head about the bills. He is running a calm loop about which good problem to solve next. Step into that monologue. Hear, in your own inner ear, the kind of quiet, ordinary, settled sentences the version of you on the new timeline would be saying to himself in the kitchen, in the car, on the walk, in the shower. That is your real prayer. Pray that one. The fourth pillar is the felt reality of the wish fulfilled. This is the heart of every Murphy teaching. He said it 100 different ways across 100 different books, but every version comes back to the same line. You must enter the feeling of the wish fulfilled. Not the wish itself, the feeling of it as already done. Most of you have never done this in your life. You have wished, you have hoped, you have visualized, but you have not entered the feeling of the thing as already complete. There is a thunderous difference. Wishing has a tension in it. Wishing leans forward. Wishing is the posture of one who does not yet have. The feeling of the wish fulfilled is the opposite. It is the posture of one who has it now, in this moment, and is settled into it. There is a softness in the chest, a quiet warmth, a small smile that comes from nowhere. You are not straining toward the thing anymore. You are sitting in the room of the thing, and the room is comfortable, and you have been sitting in it for a while, and the thing is so ordinary now that you have almost stopped noticing it. That is the feeling. That is what the loom listens for. That is the thread the weaver picks. And once you can find that feeling, even for 60 seconds at a time, and bring yourself back to it again and again until it becomes the most natural inner home you have, the timeline shifts, sometimes overnight, almost always within weeks. Now let me tell you a story. There was a woman in a small town nobody would recognize who had been waiting for a letter for the better part of 2 years. The letter was the answer to a thing she had asked for in her life. Some of you know the kind of letter I am describing. The acceptance, the offer, the invitation, the word from the one who had been silent. Each morning she walked to her mailbox. Each morning the mailbox was empty, and each morning a small piece of her shrank. She came across Murphy's teaching by accident. She read the line that said you must enter the feeling of the wish fulfilled, and she did not believe it, but she was tired, so she tried. That night, before sleep, she did not pray, she did not ask, she did not beg. She closed her eyes and entered, in her imagination, the feeling of holding the letter in her hand. She felt the paper between her fingers. She felt the small jolt of relief. She felt the tears that she did not need to perform. She fell asleep in that feeling, in the quiet certainty that the letter had already arrived. She did this every night for 10 nights. On the 11th morning, the mailbox was full. The letter was there. The thing she had been asking for 2 years had not moved while she was asking. It moved in the 10 nights she stopped asking and started assuming. You will be tempted to call that a coincidence. The Father within does not deal in coincidence. The Father within deals in the law. The law is the loom. The loom only weaves what the heart whispers. She had moved her heart from asking to assuming, and the loom did what the loom always does. It delivered the cloth that matched the new whisper. Carry that image. The empty mailbox, the full mailbox. We will return to it before this is over. And let me give you another. There was a man at a closed gate. The gate was the gate to a life he had been trying to enter for years. It was the gate to a kind of work, a kind of belonging, a kind of standing in the world that he had labored toward and never quite been allowed inside. He had pushed at the gate. He had argued with the gate. He had pleaded with the gate. The gate stayed closed. He came to believe, after a long enough time, that the gate did not open. He came to believe that the gate was for other people. He came to believe that he was the one who watched from the road. Then he heard a teaching, the same teaching I am giving you tonight, and he heard one line that struck him like a hand on the chest. The line was this: the gate opens from the inside, never from the outside. The gate opens from the inside. He went home. He sat in his quiet room. And instead of pushing on the gate from outside it, he closed his eyes and stepped, in his inner imagination, to the inside of the gate. He stood inside. He looked back at his old self standing on the road. He felt in his chest the weight of belonging on the inside. He went to sleep that night as a man who lived on the inside. He did this for several weeks. He was tested. The world said no a few more times. He stayed inside. He kept the inner posture. He refused to walk back out to the road, even in his thoughts. And one ordinary Tuesday, several weeks later, the gate opened. Not because the gatekeeper changed his mind, because the man had moved his inner location. The world simply caught up to where he had already been standing for weeks. The gate opens from the inside. Carry that one too. These are not parables I made up to entertain you. These are the shapes of every Murphy story, the shapes of every shift any of you have ever heard about and called a miracle. They are not miracles. They are the law of assumption working faithfully on a heart that was finally willing to whisper a different sentence. Now, the 4 pillars together. the law of assumption, the I am, the inner conversation, the felt reality of the wish fulfilled. Stand inside all four of them at the same time, even for one quiet evening, and the timeline will already begin to shift before you fall asleep. But there is more, because there are tools, specific mechanics, that lock the new timeline in place once you have stepped onto it. And these tools are what I am about to give you next. We are now entering the deepest part of this teaching. Stay close. The first of those tools is the 7 specific words I promised you at the beginning. The time has come. Hold steady. We are almost there. Hear them now. It is done. I am that. 7 words, 6 syllables. The shortest decree any human being has ever needed to speak. Read them again with me, slowly, and let them settle into the chest. It is done. I am that. These are not magic words. They are not a chant. They are not a spell. They are the verbal compression of every Murphy teaching I have just walked you through. Every law of assumption, every I am, every inner conversation, every felt reality of the wish fulfilled, compressed into 7 small words you can carry in your mouth like a small lit candle. It is done. The wish is no longer a wish. The thing is no longer pending. The waiting is finished. From this moment in your inner room, the matter is settled. Settled. The way you settle a debt, the way you settle into a chair, the way you settle into a long night of rest. It is done. I am that. The thing you wanted is no longer outside you. The thing you wanted is no longer something to be acquired, achieved, earned. The thing you wanted is who you now are. I am that. I am the loved one. I am the prosperous one. I am the healed one. I am the one who has crossed the gate. I am that. The 2 smallest words in the language. Marrying you finally to the truth. Speak them. Not loudly, not with strain. Speak them the way a parent speaks a child's name in the middle of the night. Quietly, with certainty, with ownership. It is done. I am that. Some of you, even now, feel a small voice rising inside you saying, but it isn't done. But I am not yet that. Hear me. That voice is the old loyalty. That voice is the old assumption. The voice is loud because it is afraid of being unemployed. It has been employed your whole life. It has stood guard at the door of the heart. It has whispered the old grey sentences for so long that it does not know what else to do. Be tender with it. Do not fight it. Just speak the new words on top of it. Quietly. Persistently. The new words are heavier than the old voice. Once you stop arguing and start assuming, the voice gets quieter, then quieter, and one ordinary morning, you will notice it has gone silent altogether. Now I want to walk you through the second tool. The most powerful 60 seconds of your day is the gate of sleep. The last 60 seconds before you fall asleep tonight is the most sacred window your subconscious mind ever opens for you. And almost all of you have been wasting it. Most of you scroll. Most of you worry. Most of you rehearse in the last quiet 60 seconds before sleep. The small humiliations of your day. The thing you should have said. The bill you forgot. The stranger who looked at you wrong. You drift to sleep on those threads, and the loom hears them. The loom weaves all night long on whatever you handed it in those final 60 seconds. The loom is faithful. The loom does not know you didn't mean it. The loom only knows what you gave it. The sleep state is the subconscious factory. While the conscious mind goes still, the subconscious mind goes to work. It is the night shift weaver. It pulls on whatever thread you handed it as you cross the threshold into rest. And the world that arrives the next morning is the cloth that came off that night shift loom. Murphy taught this his whole life. He said the most important moment of your day is the drowsy state, the moment between waking and sleeping, because that is the moment when the subconscious mind is most receptive. The mental gate is half open. Whatever you whisper into the half-open gate is taken in without resistance. So tonight, before you sleep, Hand the loom the right thread. Here is what to do. Tonight, when you are lying in bed, feel the quiet settling in. Feel the body relax, feel the breath slow, and as the drowsiness begins to rise, in the last 60 seconds before sleep takes you, do not scroll, do not worry, do not rehearse. Speak in the quietest voice of your inner ear the 7 words, "It is done. I am that." Then enter the feeling. Feel the wish as already complete. Hold the felt reality in your chest the way you would hold a small warm stone. Fall asleep in the feeling. Fall asleep in the "I am that." Fall asleep in the "It is done." That is all. That is the entire technique. The loom does the rest. You will wake the first morning and feel almost nothing different. That is normal. The cloth is being woven. The cloth has not yet arrived. Repeat tonight, and the night after, and the night after. The loom builds the new cloth slowly because the new cloth is large. But by the 7th night, by the 14th night, by some point in the slow, steady accumulation, the world begins to deliver. A small thing first, then a bigger thing, then the pattern. The pattern arrives on its own schedule, and the schedule is faster than you expect, but slower than your impatience would prefer. Stay with it. Some of you will fall asleep mid-sentence. That is fine. The subconscious mind absorbed what you began. Some of you will fall asleep with the wrong thread on your tongue because the day was hard. Begin again the next night. The loom is patient. The loom does not punish a single bad night. The loom only watches the pattern. Build the pattern. Most nights the right thread. Build it. This is the most important practice I will give you in this entire hour. Some of you will dismiss it because it is so small. The small things are always the most powerful because the small things are the ones you will actually do. A grand ritual fails on the first hard week. A 60-second whisper before sleep survives every season of your life. Make this your practice. Tonight and tomorrow night and every night. Now, the third tool. This is the test, and it is the test that breaks most seekers in half. So I want you to understand it before you walk into it. The test is called the bridge of incidents. Once you have begun to live in the new state, the world will begin to deliver the new cloth. But the world does not deliver in a straight line. The world delivers across a bridge of incidents, and each incident on that bridge is a small test of whether you will stay in the new state or fall back into the old one. The first few incidents will look like nothing. A small message, a small coincidence, a small invitation, then larger ones. Then the moment the door opens. But between every incident there will be silence, sometimes long silence, and in that silence, the old voice rises. The old voice says, "See, it isn't working. You should give up. You were a fool to assume." The old voice is the test. The old voice is the gatekeeper of the bridge. The old voice asks, will you stay in the new state when the world has not yet delivered? Will you keep saying it is done, I am that, when the proof has not arrived? Will you keep crossing the bridge in the dark? If you say yes, even when nothing is visible, the bridge holds. The next incident arrives, the next, until you stand on the other side. If you say no, if you fall back into the old assumption at the first long silence, the bridge collapses. The cloth that was being woven is unwoven. The loom returns to the old thread because the heart returned to the old whisper. And you blame the law. The law was faithful. You broke loyalty. So when the silence comes, and it will come, keep the new I am, keep the new inner conversation, keep the felt reality, speak the 7 words again. It is done. I am that. Mean them. Quietly. Without strain. Walk the bridge. Walk it through the night if you have to. The other side is closer than your fear is telling you. There was a time, in Murphy's own writing, where he gave this same teaching with a slightly different image. He spoke of a quiet harbor and a ship coming in across the sea. He said the ship was already loaded. The ship was already on its way. The harbor was already prepared. All you had to do was stay at the harbor with the certainty that the ship was coming. You did not need to swim out and find it. You did not need to invent a new harbor. You only needed to keep the inner posture of the one whose ship is on its way. The ship comes. It always comes. But only to the harbor that stays. Be the harbor that stays. This is the discipline. This is the steel underneath the softness of the law. Some of you have read the manifestation books and come away thinking that all this work is gentle. There is a gentleness in it, yes. But there is also steel. The steel is mental persistence. The steel is the refusal to be argued out of the new state by the noise of the old world. The steel is staying, and without the steel, the gentleness is decoration. Now, hear me carefully. There is one thing left, the quiet rule, the rule that holds it all together. Without this rule, every tool I have given you will eventually fail, because every tool is fragile if the rule is missing. With the rule, the tools become unbreakable. With the rule, the timeline shift is no longer something you have to keep starting over. It becomes something you live inside. I am going to give you that rule next. Carry the question one more breath. Carry it from the last hour all the way into the next teaching. We are at the edge. Take a breath. Settle the body. Let the 7 words echo once more inside the chest. It is done. I am that. The loom is weaving. The bridge is holding. The harbor is staying. And now we walk to the keystone. The quiet rule is the rule of return. Hear me carefully. The rule that 99 of every 100 teachers miss is not a doctrine. It is not a complicated technique. It is not a secret hidden in some dusty book in some forgotten language. The rule is so small you will be tempted to dismiss it. Do not dismiss it. The smallest rules are the ones that hold the largest truths. The rule is this. Every time the world argues with your new assumption, you return. You do not push. You do not resist. You do not argue back. You simply return. You return to the new I am. You return to the inner conversation of the one who already has it. You return to the felt reality of the wish fulfilled. You return to the 7 words. It is done. I am that. You return. That is the keystone. That is the rule. The world will argue with you. Many times. The bill will arrive on a Wednesday and the old voice will say, see, nothing has changed, return. The friend will say something thoughtless, and the old wound will open, and the old assumption will rush back in. Return. The mirror will catch you at the wrong angle, and the old story of who you used to be will whisper its old whisper. Return. Each time return. Without strain, without anger at yourself, without spiritual self-punishment. Just return. Like a candle that is gently lit again. Every time the wind blows it out. The wind will blow it out 100 times in the first month. That is normal. That is the wind. The wind is not the enemy. The wind is the test of your willingness to be the one who lights the candle again. Light it. Light it. Light it. The reason this is the keystone is because every other tool depends on it. The 7 words only work if you return to them when the world argues. The sleep practice only works if you return to it the next night, even after a discouraging day. The 4 pillars only stand if you return to them after every gust. Without return, every tool collapses. With return, every tool becomes unbreakable. The whole structure is held together by this one quiet practice. Return. Most seekers fail not because the law failed. They fail because they did not return. They lit the new flame on Monday, the wind blew it out on Wednesday, and they spent Thursday angry that the flame went out, and by Friday they had decided the law did not work. The law worked. The flame went out because the wind blows. They simply did not light it again. They mistook the gust for a verdict. The gust is never the verdict. The gust is the test. Light the flame again. This is what mental persistence actually means. It does not mean white-knuckled grit. It does not mean fighting your inner doubts to the death every morning. It means the small, tender, unglamorous practice of return. Catch the drift. Notice you have fallen out of the new state. Take a breath. Speak the 7 words once. Re-enter the felt reality. Move on with your day. The whole practice can take 90 seconds. Done 100 times across a season, it is the most powerful spiritual practice any human being has ever performed. It is the keystone. Without it, nothing holds. With it, everything holds. There is a freedom in this rule that the seekers who have never encountered it cannot imagine. The freedom is this: you no longer need to be perfect. You only need to be willing to return. The old spiritual systems demanded perfection. They asked you to keep the inner state without ever wavering, and when you wavered, they shamed you, and the shame became the new, heavier thread on the loom, and the cloth got worse instead of better. The rule of return makes shame unnecessary. You waver, you return, you waver, you return. The loom only watches the pattern. The pattern is built by the returning, not by the never falling. Never falling is a fairy tale. Returning is a practice any human being can keep, on any day, in any season of their life. That is why this rule is the keystone. It is the only one any of us can actually live. Now you have the whole teaching, the 4 pillars, the 7 words, the sleep gate, the bridge of incidents. The rule of return. Hold them in one hand. They are smaller than you thought a complete spiritual transmission would be. That is the design. The truths that matter are always small. The complicated systems are always the imitations. So tonight, before sleep, you will not beg. You will assume. You will speak the 7 words quietly into the dark. It is done. I am that. You will enter the felt reality of the wish fulfilled. You will let the warmth settle into your chest. You will let the small smile come from nowhere. You will fall asleep as the one who already has it. Tomorrow morning, when the world hands you something that contradicts it, you will return, without strain, without anger. You will speak the 7 words again in the quiet of your own inner ear. You will re-enter the felt reality, and you will walk through your day as a citizen of the new state, not a tourist visiting it. You will repeat this tomorrow night, and the night after, and the night after, and somewhere in 2 weeks, in 3, in 5, the world will begin to deliver the cloth. A small thing first, then a bigger thing, then the pattern. Then the door that has been closed for years will open quietly one ordinary afternoon, and you will not be surprised. You will not call it a miracle. You will recognize it as what it always was. The faithful loom delivering the cloth that matched your new whisper. Do you remember the woman with the empty mailbox? The mailbox is full now. The letter she had been waiting for 2 years. The letter that did not move while she was begging for it. That letter arrived on the 11th morning, not because the universe took pity, because she had moved her inner state, and the loom did what the loom always does. The cloth came off the loom, the mailbox filled. The waiting ended. Your mailbox is going to fill too. I do not know what your letter is. Each of you carries a different one. For some of you, it is a person. For some of you, it is the call about the work. For some of you, it is the diagnosis turning around. For some of you, it is the reconciliation. For some of you, it is the freedom from the heaviness you have been dragging since you were a child. Whatever your letter is, it is on the way. The loom is weaving it tonight. The harbor is preparing for the ship. Stay, return, speak the 7 words. And do you remember the man at the closed gate? The gate is open now, not because the gatekeeper relented, not because someone outside changed his mind, because the man stopped pushing on the gate from the road and stepped in his own inner imagination to the inside of the gate and stayed there until the world caught up. The gate opens from the inside, always, without exception. Whatever gate you have been pushing on from the road, Stop. Step inside. Stand on the inside in your inner room. Live there, sleep there, eat there. Carry yourself in the quiet inner posture as one who has already walked through. The gate will open. The world has no choice. The world has never had a choice. The world has always been the cloth. You have always been the heart at the loom. Now hear me close. The version of you who was breathing on the other side of belief at the start of this hour, that version is not separate from you anymore. You crossed. You crossed somewhere in the middle of this teaching, in a quiet moment when the truth landed without resistance, and you did not even notice the moment of crossing. That is how the timeline shift always happens. Not with thunder, not with a sign, quietly, in an ordinary breath. The way a key turns in an old lock, the way a sleeper turns over in the dark, the way a candle lights without ceremony. You are already on the new timeline. Now you only have to walk it. Walk it tonight. Walk it tomorrow. Walk it the day after. Speak the 7 words. Return when the wind blows the flame out. Sleep in the assumption. Wake in the I am. Live in your inner room as the one for whom it is already done. The loom is faithful. The Father within is faithful. The law is faithful. The only variable was ever you. And tonight you have decided. Tonight, before sleep, you will not pray as a beggar. You will speak as the one who already has it. You will not ask. You will assume. You will not strain. You will settle. You will not perform. You will rest. It is done. I am that. Speak it once more, in the quiet of your own chest, as you hear my voice begin to fade. Mean it. Quietly. Without strain. Like the date on a calendar. Like a thing as ordinary as your own name. It is done. I am that. The loom is weaving. The bridge is holding. The harbor is staying. The mailbox is filling. The gate is opening. The version of you that you waited for has stepped, finally, all the way inside. There is no more waiting. There is only the slow, faithful arrival of the world to the place where you have already been standing. Some of you will go to sleep tonight in this teaching, and you will not be the same person who woke up this morning. Some of you will need to hear this once more before it lands all the way down into the heart. Some of you will play this in your ear in the quiet hours of the night when the old voice rises. Whatever you need, the teaching is here. Return to it. Return to it as often as the wind blows out the flame. Light it again. The flame is yours. The candle is yours. The loom is yours. The Father within is yours. You were never separate. You only thought you were. Tonight, you stop thinking you are. Tonight, you take your seat as the speaker of your own world. You have been given the 4 pillars. You have been given the 7 words. You have been given the sleep gate. You have been given the bridge of incidents. You have been given the rule of return. You have been given everything any of the great teachers ever gave to any of their closest students. Carry it as the small lit lamp it is. Sleep with it tonight. Wake with it tomorrow. Return to it for the rest of your life. The shift is already done. The timeline is already moving. The world is already rearranging. Now go. Carry the lamp. Light it tonight. Light it again every time the wind blows. The wind is not the enemy. The wind is the practice that makes your hand sure on the candle for the rest of your life. By the 2nd month, your hand will be steady. By the 6th month, you will not even notice the wind. By the year, the candle will be the brightest light in the room, and you will wonder how you ever lived in the dark. Go quietly, go without ceremony. Go the way a free person walks out of a room they were never really locked inside of. Lay down tonight in the new I am. Speak the 7 words into the dark. Feel the wish fulfilled settle into your chest. Fall asleep as the one who already has it. And when you open your eyes tomorrow, look at your world with the quiet certainty of one who knows the loom has been weaving while you slept. The cloth is coming. The letter is coming. The gate is opening. The version of you who lives the life is no longer somewhere ahead of you. The version of you is breathing this breath right now, with you, inside you, as you. There is no distance left between the two of you. There never was in truth. You only believed there was. Tonight, you stopped believing it. It is done. I am that. Now go. The timeline is already moving toward you.